first I want to talk to you about you
Mhm.
because you were born in Houston, but soon moved to Port Arthur, Texas, which did give us the Cowboy coach Jimmy Johnson, did give us the rock and roll star Janis Joplin. And yet, how different was it for you to go from Houston to Port Arthur? What was Port Arthur like in your childhood?
Well, I grew up in Houston in Third Ward, Texas. Third Ward is actually where George Floyd is from.
Yeah.
My mom was married to a guy, and she had me and my sister at the time, and he was really into drugs. He was doing a lot of drugs,
Hmm.
and she was working at a service station, and all the money she was making, he was taking from her and spending it on drugs to where we was going without. So he ended up going to jail for 21 years, and right before he went to jail, my mom moved at like 4 or 5 years old. My mom moved me back to Port Arthur, Texas, where her mom and
Okay.
her mom and sisters and brothers were. They
By the
migrated
way,
from.
did you get to know your dad much at all?
So no, so growing up, growing up, I didn't know my dad until I maybe was like maybe 12, 11, 12,
Mm.
somewhere around there, where I forced a relationship with him.
Oh,
The only reason I knew of my dad's family is because his sisters, my aunt Puddin and my aunt Yvonne, they did a great job of doing holidays and
mm.
doing stuff like that. They made sure that I got gifts from that side of the family. She came, picked us up, and took us to eat. So I knew of my dad's side of the family and who he was simply because of his sisters.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
my mom never spoke ill about my dad, so I didn't know anything about
Okay.
my dad.
All right. And did you feel like you did get to know him much at all?
Yeah, after time passed and I started becoming my own man,
Yeah.
I think around 12, 13, I ended up asking my mom could I go stay with my dad, and she didn't want to, but she was letting me be my own man, and that was some of the toughest years of my life because that's when my dad was really my dad was really in the streets, and
Yeah.
so was my older brother who ended up getting killed when I was 16.
Yeah.
So when I went stay with them, I was started gang banging and smoking
Yeah.
and selling drugs, doing a lot of stuff that I didn't know I was going to be privy to once I got over there. Yeah, I knew that's what was going on in my city, but I didn't
Huh.
know I was going to be so close to it once I moved with my dad.
Were you going back and forth between Port Arthur and Houston, or what? Did you get to know your dad in Port Arthur?
So the man my mama married to wasn't my biological father.
Okay.
My biological father lived in Port Arthur, and his whole
Mm.
family lived in Port Arthur. So
Oh,
when I when I went move with him, I was still in Port Arthur at the time.
okay. Was Port Arthur racially divided in your childhood?
Oh no. See, and that's one thing. Like it's on the outskirts of my city. And in Nederland and Silsby and Bridge City was a lot of racism. But in Port Arthur, Texas, black, white, Mexican, we had to live together. We had to work together. We had to be around each other because it was so small. So that's how I picked up Spanish. You know, it's broken, but I learned a lot of Spanish at a young age. You know, even the times when we talk about George Floyd, you see I put up emojis of every race because I grew up with almost every race, even Vietnamese. I grew up a lot of Vietnamese going to school, so I grew up around everybody, and I think that's why my heart's always been so big because I was able to tap into a lot of different people growing up.
That's beautiful. When did you first touch a basketball? When did it first touch you?
So basketball touched me around 3 or 4 years old. My uncles, my cousins all played at the famous Port Arthur High School, Lincoln, Abraham
Yeah.
Lincoln High School. It's a big school in Texas. I think we might be one of the top 5 schools in state championships in Texas. And growing up, I ended up watching my cousin and B.J. Tyler. B.J. Tyler he went to Texas. He ended up getting drafted by the 76ers, but made some mistakes in his career. And I get back to that.
Okay.
He made them, and I was playing around 5 or 6. My uncles and them basically put the ball in my hand.
Hmm.
And at 4 or 5 years old, I played in a YMCA league, Skip, and the score was 40. We won the game 42-40. I had 40 points. So at that age, I think
Yeah.
everybody around me saw something in me that I didn't see.
I'd say.
So I started getting treated like I was someone that was going to the NBA. I never knew. I wasn't. I was just having fun as a kid. But as time going on, everybody started treating me like, "Hey, you can get to the NBA." So I started believing in myself.
Do you remember who scored the other two in that game?
Yeah, it was my homeboy Perry Gobert. His dad was the coach. His dad was the coach. He scored the other 2 points.
Can you remember what the shot was that gave him his two?
Something lucky. Something he just. We 5 years old, so something he just threw up there, and it went in.
That's funny. And I assume you were tall for your age, right?
Yeah, I was taller than all the kids. I was faster. You know, I
Yeah.
grew up on the west side of Port Arthur, so I grew up rough. I grew up rough, fighting, playing outside on concrete, getting knocked down. So I was a little ahead of some of the kids.
Okay. And then Donald Buckner, I think, was your half brother. Is that right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Donald Buckner is my father, and Donald Buckner Jr. is my brother.
Okay. Junior. Okay.
Yes.
And he tragically lost his life when he got the hell beaten out of him, right? By
Yeah, by some
by some other.
by some guys we know. Like I said,
Yeah.
our city was small, and he was coming out of a female's house that the guy frequently dated. They
Yeah.
had words. My you know my you can imagine this is my brother. And you can imagine how my heart is. My brother's 6'9". So he's taller than me. He was an athlete too, hell of an athlete in basketball, but and he was way bigger than me. So you know he wasn't taking nothing. You see how big my
No.
heart is. So he took on the guys. They ended up fighting him, and during the fight. So Skip, this is funny you asked me this. So much time has passed. I've heard so many different stories. So some of the guys got out, and a close friend that I'm close to, and his close friends of one of the guys told him a story to reach out to me probably like a year ago. So I went
Huh.
home, and he was like, "Bro, I know you don't want to hear it, but I got a story for you because the guy who actually did it said he heard so many stories about what happened, and he got a lot of respect for you. You know, he never got a chance to tell you how sorry it was or what happened, but it didn't go down how people saying it. So the whole story was, even in the paper, that he got hit with bottles and bricks and stuff like that. Well, what happened was they did jump on him. 3 guys did jump on him, but when one of them guys caught him with a good punch and kind of dazed him, he hit the back of his head on the curb.
Yeah.
And that's what busted his head open. So all the bricks and stomping on him and stuff like that, he said they wouldn't have disrespected my brother like that. He said they did fight him, they did jump on him, but all the
Okay.
kicking and bottles and stuff didn't go on. So I'm glad I can clear that up. But he hit his head on the curb during the fight and busted his head open, where he ended up having 18 staples in his head. So he was eventually brain dead. This is probably my first time telling this story too, Skip. My dad was calling me. My dad's not here no more either right now. My dad called me and told me to come see my brother because it wasn't looking good. You know, at the time, my mind frame was get revenge. You know, I was young, I was in the street, so I wasn't thinking about basketball. So my homeboy Roy D ended up convincing me to go to the hospital and see my brother. I go in the hospital, I see I see everybody distraught. So I go in there, my dad like, he waiting on you. And I'm like, how's he waiting on me and he in a coma? You know what I'm saying? Like he brain dead. I didn't understand what my dad was saying, but my dad knew something. So I went in there, I saw him, I instantly broke down. I kissed him on his head and told him I love him, Skip. As soon as I kissed him and told him I love him, a tear dropped out his eye. The first piece of emotion that anybody ever saw. And he died probably like 15 minutes later. So it made me feel like he was waiting on me. You know, he was waiting on me. So I think my dad knew something.
I'm glad you at least shared that moment with him. And how much younger were you than he was at 16? You were what?
I was 16. My brother was 20. He's 8 years
he
older
was
than me. He's 8
okay.
years 8 years older than me.
Okay, so he was older. Had he played high school, college basketball?
He was unbelievable in high school. He went to Thomas Jefferson, the same high school both of my sisters ended up going to. And he was an unbelievable athlete, but you know, you can't be in the streets and be an athlete. You can't do
Okay.
it's impossible to do both.
So at 16, how driven were you to get revenge for his death?
You know, at 16, I that's all I wanted. You know what I mean? I mean, that was my brother. Like, I felt like if I didn't protect him, if I didn't do nothing, I was going to be considered a punk, or, you know, it just didn't sit well with me. But at the same time, I had a great support system. Like, even some of the things that I wouldn't say on here that, you know, that we attempted to do, I would say that it eventually hit me that my brother appreciate more if I do something with my life instead of following in his footsteps.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
So
Yeah, that's right.
and that comes from my support system. My mom, my sister, my brother, the people around me kept telling me, bro, you got to make it for your brother now. You got to make it for your brother. So I instantly snapped out of it, Skip, because that wasn't something that I dreamed of. I dreamed of getting to the NBA. You know, after the city started making me believe in myself. So that lifestyle was something that I didn't want anyway.
Okay. So how big a threat to you at 16 were drugs other than marijuana? Any other harder drugs that you were
well, and
tempted by?
Yeah, the only thing I've ever was tempted by was weed and syrup. We drank syrup a lot in high school. I'm from Texas, so that whole era comes from my era. Being in Houston and being in the Third Ward and the DJ Screw era. Growing up in high school, we used to sip codeine like it was nothing. And the first time I seen somebody sip codeine was my father. I go to my father's house when I moved with him, and I see him putting an ounce of codeine in a Budweiser, and I didn't know what he was doing. And they called it sleigh ride. And what he do, he shake it up and he down it, and about 30 minutes later, he slumped over in his sleep. Slumped over in his chair. And that was just something that we all adapted to because it was big in our city. But I sold drugs, but I didn't really be involved in that because the city, like I said, my city protected me. When the times that I wanted to be out there, they'll bring me home or they'll take it from me and sell it for me. Like, it was just so many incidents that my city guided me and protected me in situations that I didn't even understand I was in. So everything was around me, Skip. But like I said, my city protected me so much because I got so many situations where I could have ended up dead in the jail. And the one person pulled me away, and one person said, "Nah, you're not going," or even God just protected me. It's just so many situations where there's no reason that I was protected, and it's the reason why I'm here.
So you tried the codeine, but you didn't get hooked on the codeine.
Oh no, I definitely got hooked. I OD'd twice.
Did you? Oh, I didn't know that.
No. Trying it was not something that we did. We did it. We was probably at one point, Skip. We was probably sipping close to 8 to 10 ounces a day.
Oh man.
Yeah, me and some of my brothers. It was a morning and night and day. In the morning time we'll get some, and nighttime we'll get some more. It was just one of those situations, Skip. That was something that we was in, and like I don't understand. Like I understand now with these kids, but now a lot of the stuff that we was doing is remanufactured. You know what I'm saying? It's basically bathtub brew. It's not the same thing. You know.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff was coming from the pharmacy then, and now a lot of stuff people making on the street. So it's totally dangerous now. But I speak on this, Skip, to tell people, to try to help people who have that problem now, to try to help them get off of it, because it can get a hold of you, Skip. And it had got a hold of me at one point where I was losing weight. That's all I wanted to do. I wasn't eating. And like I said, I ended up going to the hospital with my stomach locked up. My stomach actually turned into a knot while I was in the car with two of my friends, and we had to pull over. I had to lay on the side of the road. I had to actually lay on the side of the road and go to the hospital and take some stuff to get my stomach pumped, because I had so much syrup in my stomach that it was actually twisting. So from being
you were just doing cough syrup, right? That you could buy at the drugstore or whatever.
Well, what it was the older guys could only, back then, the older guys could the only ones get prescriptions from pharmacies. So we had to go to McGowan in Houston, a street called McGowan in Houston, and buy from the older guys that's sitting on the corner, because they selling it in Gerber jar bottles for $40. So you couldn't really buy it from anybody off the street. You had to get it from somebody who had a real prescription.
Okay. And did you need any rehab stint at all to unhook yourself? You just did it.
Yeah. I just, after a while, you know, a lot of things when you're growing up, it run its course. And syrup ran its course with me, because I couldn't play basketball and be the player I was on it. You know, I've seen football players and guys tried and their careers didn't go well because they was trying to do something that somebody else, you know, they saw somebody else do. I grew up on it, Skip, so I knew what not to do, and I knew that wasn't going to take me nowhere. I had my fun with it. You know, I enjoyed it with my friends, but that was a phase in my life that I'll never go back to.
Okay. So at Abraham Lincoln High School, you did win the Texas State Championship.
Yeah, my freshman year, Skip, we should have won it, but my mom used my grandmother's address, because, you know, they got school zones. Yeah. And the coach at Thomas Jefferson didn't like the fact that I went to Lincoln, because I was the best basketball player in the city, so he wanted me there. So he reported us to the school district. So the first game I played on varsity, we had to forfeit. In the 9th grade, I played varsity. You want to know what my stats was? 10, 10, and 10. Triple-double. My first game as a freshman in high school. Once they started, they was like, nope, he's not playing this year. He has to come here. And I had to sit out my freshman year.
Okay.
Sophomore year, go ahead.
Yeah, this was in, Houston or Port Arthur? This was in Port Arthur, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. So Thomas Jefferson was also in Port Arthur, where your sisters went.
Where my sister and my older brother went, yes.
I got it. Okay, so which year did you break through then and win the state championship at Lincoln?
95.
Okay. And were you a big star on that team?
Yeah, I was definitely the best player on the team, but I had a great group of guys that were my real friends that I had grew up with my whole life, that knew me, I knew them. We had another guy that went to Tulane, Keith Harris. My point guards and my guards were all good. They just didn't, where we didn't really get seen too much. So
Okay.
I was a top player in Texas, but I wasn't a top player in the country. In my class in 96, but in 95 we won the state championship, and that's how I was seen, going to play AAU by Coach Smith at Oak Hill, and ended up going to Oak Hill my senior year.
And so you went to Oak Hill back when it was the power place to be, right? That was a big deal to get selected to finish your high school career at Oak Hill.
Yeah, I mean, it was a blessing for me because I had no idea what it was going to do for me. I just won a state championship with my friends, so my whole attitude is I'm coming back my senior year. We're going to win it again. And my little brother that passed, rest in peace, I was going to have a chance to play with him because he was going to be a freshman. All that was in my mind. And but my mom, Coach Smith, and Andre Butte saw something that I didn't see. I was trying out for football at Lincoln High School, running routes, and my mom, my uncle, and my coach come get me off the field. They was like, "What you doing?" I'm like, "Trying out for football." I was like, "Nah, you're not even going to school here next year." I'm like, I had no idea what they was talking about. They brought me in, sat me down, told me about Oak Hill. I'm like, man, I don't want to go in the middle of nowhere wearing uniforms, nothing like that, man. Nah, I'm not doing that. Can't be by no girls and nothing like that. Like, I'm not doing that. My mom packed my stuff. They rented a truck. She borrowed some money from somebody, a friend, and she rented a van. We packed the van up. My mom put my sister and my brother in the van with us, and we drove all the way to Oak Hill, like 18 hours.
It would be.
And she dropped me off. It was the worst drive of my life, Skip, but it ended up being the best place for me.
Whew. By the way, what happened to your younger brother?
3 years ago, he was getting ready to go out of town, and he had to pick up his son. And he was moving so fast, getting off work and moving around, and he was coming out of Target like 2 blocks from his house, and his heart just stopped.
Oh, okay.
He ended up hitting a pole, and he hit the pole, and they ended up getting there, and they pulled him out the car and tried to resuscitate him, and his heart just stopped. He was 42 years old.
Really? Sorry to hear that. Is your mom still with us?
Yeah. My mom is still here. I lost 4 out of 7 siblings.
Whew, wow. Well, your mom was a force in your life. You would not be sitting here, right now without her, I believe.
No, facts. No question about it.
Yeah. Okay, so how big a culture shock was what you found in, I don't even know where it is, somewhere in Virginia, right? Where Oak Hill is?
1 second, Skip.
I understand. Take all the time you need.
My little brother was my best friend, man. Since 3 years old.
You've had your share or more of tragedy. You have known real life, hard life, and lived to tell about it.
I'm good.
Okay, so Oak Hill, culture shock, was it, how did you cope? How did you handle?
I think for me, I just knew that I was going to get a chance to play basketball on the level that I had always wanted to. I didn't know what to expect with the school and the uniforms and stuff like that. That was all new to me. And that really spooked me, not being able to, girls on one side of the campus, guys on the other side. But the best thing about it is we wasn't at school much. We traveled so much playing basketball and in different tournaments all around the world. I think that helped me deal with it, and it was only 1 year. And everywhere we was going, my name was getting bigger. I was playing in these tournaments, playing well. So, I think quickly I realized what I was there for, and I made the best of it.
Okay, so you wind up being a McDonald's All-American, and you went to play in the game and you outplayed this guy named Kobe Bryant, who was also in that game, right?
Yeah. We had a great class.
You did. And how did the game go? What did you see from Kobe at that point?
Well, I tell the story a couple times, like Jermaine O'Neal, Mike Bibby, Tim Thomas, Kobe Bryant, Rip Hamilton, me. We had a lot of guys. You can see the difference in how Kobe carried himself and what he was thinking of the game of basketball at the time. We were happy to be at the McDonald's game. We were all there having a good time, young kids. We reached our goal. This is a goal. We all wanted to be here. And I think, Tim Thomas was didn't know if he was going to go in the NBA or if he was going to go to college. Jermaine was already going to the NBA. But Kobe didn't have his, Kobe was still on a kind of limb for a second. But his attitude was NBA already. So we there, and we at the McDonald's game. We just come from we always go to the McDonald's hospital to see the kids. And we're all like, man, let's go to McDonald's. Let's go get some food. Kobe was like, all right, I'll see y'all later. We like, what? He's like, man, I'm not eating that. So that's been my attitude. That was my attitude once I got to the NBA. I'm not eating no fast food. I'm not putting that in my body. He was thinking this at 15, 16 years old. You know what I'm saying? So his mind, everything that he programmed himself to do, Skip, he actually did it. It's hard, and that's what I admire about him. We all had dreams of being the best in the NBA and getting there and doing all this, but how many people actually saw it through? That takes a lot of discipline, so that's why I love Kobe so much.
Okay, so you did get signed, or it came close to you going to Arizona, but then you didn't have the grades to get in, right?
Yeah, so we had the number one recruiting class that year. Me, Mike Bibby, Eugene Eckerson, and I actually signed, with the University of Arizona, and they actually let me stay on campus, with Mike around the whole first semester.
Really?
And and this, see, Skip, where I'm from, I'm not used to people helping you, right? I'm not used to people helping you like that, especially people you don't know. Yeah. So they had a situation where they set up for me to take the test one last time in front of someone, but I'm thinking this is someone that's just administering the test to me. The whole time when I finished the test, because I had no clue about a lot of stuff, the guy says, "You're done?" I'm like, "Yes, sir, I'm done." He was like, "Surprised you didn't ask me for any help." I had no idea the guy was there to help me with the test. He never said nothing. So I ended up not passing the test and not going, and they ended up winning the national championship.
Oh, God. And if you had asked for his help, I'm pretty sure you would have passed the test.
I probably would have had flying colors. I probably passed aced it probably.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So you did wind up signing with that Butler Community College in Kansas, but you didn't actually play there, right?
No, I went to Butler. I went to Butler for like maybe 2.5, 3 weeks. Went out there, met my boy Lee Naylon and some other guys. It was a kid from my hometown that was going there, Delvin Washington. When I went out there and ended up selling weed for 2 weeks while I was out there, Skip, trying to make some money. And I seen because the coach was actually paying me just to be there. Okay. And this was early NIL. He was hitting me off because he was trying to get me to stay and can play basketball the next year. But I ended up taking some money from him, hustling while I was down there and leaving, and because I didn't like the environment I was in.
Yeah.
And the only reason too, my sister was at Wichita State at the time.
Okay.
And that was right up the road, so that's why I tried it.
Okay. And yet, as the story goes, it was Mike Bibby's mom who got you in the door with the Phoenix Suns and Danny Ainge to just play some pickup games or just practice with them a little bit, and that wound up getting you drafted.
Yeah, I love her like a real mother. That's somebody who I check on and who I really look at like a mother. She didn't have to do that. I think she's seen the passion. My mom didn't want me to come back home. I think her and my mom had a conversation about the things that I could possibly get into once I get back home. And once I didn't pass the test, I had to go back home. But Mike's mom was like, "Nah, come stay with me, work out with Mike's brother Dane." And Dane was taking me to work out one day, work out every day. But I woke up one morning, Skip, and she was like, "Grab your shoes." And I'm thinking she's taking me to another workout. And when I see us going by the Suns facility, the hair on my skin starting to stand up.
I'd say.
And once she turned into the garage, normally you have to show security or a name, a badge, or anything.
Yep.
They would just raise it up like they was expecting her. So we go straight in. We go in, we walk towards the practice gym. By this time, I know I'm finna play basketball. I got enough common sense to know, okay, this is basketball.
Yeah.
So she take me in the gym. The whole Suns team is there. Soon as Danny Ainge give me a real brother handshake, hit me on the chest, was like, get out there. And I looked at her. She was like, go ahead. Like I needed approval from her. Like even though Danny Ainge said go ahead, I looked at her like she's like, go ahead. And I end up showing my butt. I mean, dunking, catching lobs from J Kidd. He really embraced me to where the Suns only had one pick that year, Skip. They had the 42nd pick in the draft in the second round because they had just made trades for McDyess and Rex Chapman and some other guys. They even had Steve Nash, so they only had one pick. So the Danny Ainge guaranteed me the pick and told me they was going to send me to the CBA. But they guaranteed me $250,000 and my name in the system in the NBA. And for me, that was everything.
Hey, if that hadn't happened, if not for Mike Bibby's mother, I don't know what happens to you. I don't know.
You never hear about me.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
In a good way.
Yeah, no, in a good way. But the point is that you still had a struggle. You still had to fight through. Did you go to Europe or where? You had to go do some other stuff besides the CBA, right?
Yeah, I went to Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Chile, France, Australia. I broke both of my feet. Tried out for 16 NBA teams during that time before I actually made it back to the NBA in 2001.
To the Nets, right? And Stefan was there, right? Marbury was there.
And we had the number 1 draft pick, Kenny Martin, that year.
Oh, yeah. There you go. And then it began to click for you, but you went through some long, hard nights, I'll bet, when you're bouncing around the world trying to hook on to play basketball.
Yes, Skip, I'll tell you a story. My first day in Venezuela, I get picked up from the airport. And, the ghetto is the ghetto to me. But this is different. Venezuela is different. He's driving me to practice. As soon as we got off the plane, we got to go straight to practice. And we're coming up to some traffic, but it's a bridge, and I guess cars are driving slow to under this bridge. So, and we're moving, and as we get close to under the bridge, people are starting to go like around something. My first day there, as soon as we start to turn around, I look out my window. It's like a 14, 15-year-old kid jumped off a bridge and landed just killed himself, committed suicide. My first day there, and I was like. I think I was like 18, 19 at the time. And I called my mom like, I don't know about this is not what I don't know if I can deal with this. And she was like, if you want it, you're going to deal with it. If you want it, you're going to deal with it. And, and I made the best of it. But that was my first day there at night, 19 years old. To see that, I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this.
You have lived a life, man. Maybe you've lived a couple of lives, 3 lives.
I'm thankful.
Okay, so you wind up with the Spurs for, what was it, a couple of years? Or
2 years.
12 and 13. And you were really good for them, especially in that 2012, it would be the conference finals against OKC, right? I thought you played the biggest on the team. I thought you were the best player on the team. Shot the 3, you defended Durant pretty well. Wouldn't you say you did a decent job on him?
Yeah, I competed. A lot of people don't compete against him. He's impossible to stop, but I made it difficult for him.
You did. And you also had, which I actually love, but that tweet that you posted about Serge Ibaka that you got fined for, but at least you were showing some guts, right? Do you remember it?
That was my role on the team. I said, the next time Serge Ibaka say something, I'm going in his mouth.
Yeah.
But one thing about it, I meant that even when the 03 year championship year, a lot of those nights we had Tim Duncan and Tony Parker Ginobili. I was the best player on a lot of nights, especially in the playoffs. And I never got my credit for that, So both times I went back with the Spurs, I made it to at least the Western Conference Finals. So that says a lot, man. And
by the way, I can't remember what did you tweet about Ibaka?
I said, I think next time Serge say something, I'm going in his mouth.
Okay, all right.
Next time he say something slick, I'm going in his mouth. I was gonna punch him dead in his mouth too, and he knew it.
Okay.
We saw each other not too long ago,
Oh,
and
yeah?
he was like, man, what was I told him, I said, man, I really didn't have no problem with you, man. This is basketball. I have no friends when it comes to basketball.
That's a
And
fact.
and when we shook on it and just spoke at the All-Star game or something like that. But
Really?
I didn't
Okay.
have I had no friends during the NBA time.
It's the only way to go. Now I look
Yeah,
at them, and before and after every game, they're all hugging each other, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't know this
yeah,
style. I don't
it's
know this
different.
way. Yeah, it is different.